every product's going to contribute whatever it is, 12, 15% to the overhead of the company. They want to make a 20% return after that. It's very easy to do that number with a licensed product because they can base it on something real, some size of market, etc. So they can only have so many products in the portfolio that they really have no idea, that they're just sticking their finger in the wind and kind of trying to make up a number. And this same thing is that they've got to cover their overhead and we've got to cover our overhead. It's all come down, trickling down the chain. So it's an important part of the industry.
Do you think no?
No. It's okay.
Were you listening?
Yes.
I think because we've only got 15 minutes left, I might just completely ignore the stuff that I had on my list. And someone else had a question. Hi. And some more. Welcome.
Andrew, would you like to talk about the reasons why you left the industry and then why you came back?
At the time it was because I had actually got a bit sick of the same problems with different faces. I'd been it was the end of a run working at publishers, and it was oh look, there's a new developer who thinks they can make the next Quake or the next Doom, and oh look, they can't. And we go, look, don't rewrite that game engine, don't do that, and they'd still do it, and they say, oh yeah, we can, and we go, all right, look, we'll let you do it, and then 3 years later, some heap of poo comes out of the grinder, and then we'll do it again, and we'll do it again, and we'll do it again, and I sort of had enough of keep facing the same problems, and the industry wasn't moving on, it wasn't fixing itself. I'm not so sure that it's completely fixed itself, but I think it's moved on a bit, and I think things like middleware, better tools that we now have access to, the fact that there is some more experience lying around in the industry has definitely improved things. But in the end, one of the things, as I said, the entire time I was off, I was making games with friends. We were doing a GBA game, and we were doing some games on the web, and it's what I do. So
do come back, don't they? There is something about it. I think I want to make sure that we sort of have strayed into somewhat, not doom and gloom exactly, but somewhat more kind of grounded territory.
And it wasn't my fault.
No, it wasn't your fault.
I was
worried that you might.
No, I know. So that's nice.
But people do come back, and there's a reason they come back, is because the industry has got so much in front of it. I mean, we look at, if anyone saw Jonathan's talk earlier with the big blue blob of here's the potential space of what games can be, and then here's this green bit that's where we're at. I think he grossly overestimated the size of that green blob that what we've explored. I think, if you were to look, let's imagine we're 100 years in the future and we're looking at a newspaper article.
We've got monkeys with chainsaws now.
We've got the monkeys with chainsaws. So I finally pushed that one through the door. And I'm living on my island funded by the rocket launcher chainsaw monkeys.
I've got some robot butlers in a jetpack, so it's all good.
Yeah,
it's a good place to be.
Just got to sit down. But you've got a list of the 100 greatest novels of all time, the 100 greatest films of all time, the 100 greatest records of all time. I would suggest that we've already heard most of those, watched most of those, read most of those. Whereas if you were to look at that point in time at the 100 best games of all time, I would say very few of them that we've already played will be on that list. I think you might get one or two kind of token early period games. To look back on a golden era of gaming that people sometimes wax nostalgic about is a nonsense because it hasn't happened yet. I think the greatest game designer who ever lived is not Shigeru Miyamoto or Hideo Kojima or Will Wright. I think they haven't even gotten started yet. There's so much potential for this to become the most powerful form of expression, the most powerful form of communication. It can cross gaming, interactive media generally can cross boundaries of culture, of language, of place far more successfully than anything humankind's ever stumbled upon before. And it is going to be the dominant form of the next however long, 100 years at least, I would say, before the next.
I don't know.
So I'm picturing him in the future with this. Yes.
You're looking at me like I know. Yes, David, you're absolutely right. Well done. Who's going to win the lottery this week? What are the numbers?
We don't expect to go to the cinema next year and see the best film ever made, or see that a novel that sort of blows. You don't go to the theatre to see some playwright that blows Shakespeare out of the water. But we do expect that next year's games and games 5 years from now are going to bring with them significant fundamental improvements, and we take that completely for granted because that keeps happening. And I'm not sure how long it's been since that's been the case in any artistic form. The fact of the matter is, like in games at the moment, things are really, really exciting and things are happening, and everyone in this room, everyone at this conference, and people at similar events around the world have a chance to shape that and be a part of that and tell that story and be, and communicate with a far greater audience in a far more thorough and meaningful way than things we've experienced before. I mean, I'm sitting here as someone who's worked on some pretty average stuff, some licensed stuff. We're talking about this isn't the sort of thing that we mean, but this is this industry.
You're talking about me now.
This this industry
You're
has
not
got
going to
that.
milk me, David.
It's maybe after. There's such potential and there's such a lot to look forward to that we haven't even really scratched the surface of. So people do come back. It's tough at the moment. We've learned some tough lessons, but things are really starting to open up. Middleware and tools are getting better, which means that a lot of the driving force behind video game production is taken away from. It's not as technically driven. It's more creatively driven. It's content created. It's not technologists. So I think that's it's an exciting time. People want to be part of that. There's a lot to be excited about. A lot to be confident about.
The other thing I would add actually is, before I left, I was very much, some of you may know or have been that developer who was, development is where it's at. All those marketing people are crap, they don't know anything. Sales guys are the scum of the earth. PR, what the hell, you should shoot them all. I was really kind of passionate about, we made games and everyone else knew nothing. The time away meant that I could come back as a much more harmonious member of the system. And then you see how marketing fits and how PR fits and sales and QA. And in fact, development's the tip of the iceberg. I mean, the team's much, much bigger than the guys just sitting there making the game. And without them, we don't have anything else. And actually, when I came back and started working with them rather than against them, things got a hell of a lot easier.
I just want to, because Eve's been quiet, I know that you've kind of not gotten out of the industry entirely, but kind of stepped to the side. And can you just kind of, let's glue these things together. You know how to segue into that?
I'm sure I do. I think, basically, sort of, I've got a few sort of personal reasons for stepping out of the industry for a little while, sort of having a family. And I do think I can't be a slave to two masters and sort of have a family and have a sort of do as much as I want to do with that, and sort of be sort of hardcore game developer as much as I'd like to be. And I don't want to sort of go in half-cocked and sort of just kind of dial it all in, as opposed to really kind of to work as much as I'd like to give the industry. If that makes sense, I don't want to kind of just sort of end up doing things just for the money or whatever. I'd rather sort of keep getting people into the industry, keep sort of getting people in who are going to start thinking about what to do, who can kind of see a lot of hype and a lot of sort of doors opening about what kind of games they'd like to develop, and to sort of push that a little bit for them, and to sort of also for myself to feed off their enthusiasm and to sort of bolster my enthusiasm again for the industry. No matter what I do, whenever I do have bad days, or have had bad days in the industry, it's always kind of been fixed pretty quickly when I've worked something new out, or I've done something else, or I've completed a game and seen it on a shelf, and those things are they're much more important than just kind of getting grumpy and going, oh, bugger this for a lark, I'm off home for a while. You do sort of, if you're sort of, having problems in the industry, if you take that step back and you sort of, look at the overall industry, there's so much that we haven't yet accomplished. There's so much yet to do. There's all these wonderful things that everyone here will probably have some sort of game idea of this thing is I'm going to make it's fantastic and blah blah blah, and it may even have monkeys with chainsaws.
Oh, David's copied that.
Shit.
I notice you're the one doing all the swearing.
Yeah, I know. I don't know why that is today. It's because I don't swear in class very often. But basically, there are all these things that are yet to do, and that we've really only starting to scratch the surface of what's available. Both technology-wise, it's that's not going to slow down anytime soon by the looks of things. But also, people are getting really interested in the stories and the plots again, and rather than just kind of pushing something forward technically, they're kind of really thinking about the player's experience in the game as well. And it's when you're taking that kind of thing into account, it's it's only going to kind of feed the industry more and feed the creativity more, and get better results for people. So yeah, that's my bit.
We only really have 5 minutes left, so I think maybe only one more question, and then kind of closing statements. So I can't remember who had their hand up because I'm really stupid. Hi.
I was wondering about going back to the original IP issue of perhaps using mediums like Steam or Game Chat